right. Hey, y'all. It's Wilhelmina Sparrow from Sparrow International. Just dropping some love truths. So, a lot of how-to videos show you how to, heal and normalize certain things in love and dating people, but and and a lot of times they even, like, if you end up like dealing with someone's emotional health issues, encourage separation. But the truth is, yeah, when you don't really love the person like that and whatever issues they come with, you're not going to be tolerant of it at all. Doesn't matter how nice of a person you are. If you don't feel that for someone, you're not going to be tolerant. But here, let's say you're in love and you find out someone has some type of emotional baggage that they're carrying with them, because there's a lot of good people out there who suffer from mental health issues due to trauma because of childhood issues and stuff like that. And they do a lot of work to cope with it, but the truth is mental health is something you don't stop living with. It's just something you learn how to healthily manage and maintain. So this video will show you out there, those who are in love, you know what I'm talking about. Love is unconditional. The true love is just really, you're just dealing with a lot of that person's baggage, and they're dealing with yours as well. So how do you manage through that? And through individuals who have dealt with mental health, who's dealing with mental health like PTSD or any other traumatic mental health issues, as well as, if they have if they have a medical diagnosis or something they can't control, whatever it is. The best thing to deal with a person as such is you cannot stop the process. When you see it surfacing, you cannot, no matter how hard you try. And I think that's where a lot of times the toxic behavior and the fights go back and forth, because your love, in your love, especially dealing with, masculine energy, masculine energy wants to fix things and help and be there and be a supporting system to know and find the information and gather. That's what masculine energy does. And feminine energy is more submissive in nature, but it's still, in their own way, you're gathering the different areas and that balances out, a connection or a family or anything you're building. So they need a safe place. They need a safe place to do what is necessary to process through that episode, we would call it. A lot of times people take control, and the biggest issue with dealing with especially traumas, in which a lot of us carry traumas out there, when you're dealing with a trauma, you're something that happened years ago that happened to you is constantly resurfacing. And when it's constantly resurfacing, what happens is there's something in that environment that's happening that is a reminder of that previous situation. It does not mean that you are not seeing things and you're being delusional, which is the misconception when it comes to dealing with trauma, PTSD, and other stuff. People automatically, because of the ignorance surrounding mental health and the fact that a lot of people shy from it because of the ridicule and the ostracization that comes from it, and the vulnerabilities that do as well. We're very vulnerable out there when it comes to mental health, and that's the results. You see it, you know it. You're inside, you know it, because you see it when you see the homeless guy or the homeless woman in the street, strung out. It could lead to that. It could get that bad. Yes, it can. So that's everyone's fear and stigma that comes with dealing with mental health. But the truth is, that's just when it goes unchecked or unprotected. And what I'm going to say about unprotected is there's nothing out there that truly protects an individual once they're diagnosed with a mental health issue and it's known. And as it follows them, even those who might work around it or amongst it or have to make decisions based off of it still carry their ignorant beliefs about it unless they themselves are immersed in that lifestyle. And then there are those who are aware of it and they have compassionate hearts and they help and they do everything they can to be a supportive system. And then there's those who are aware about it and it becomes a tool to use to get what they want, get access to the resources the individual has. But in order for what a lot of people don't understand is a common thing that's happening out there that you're witnessing the results of, but you're not seeing what's behind the scenes. People are deliberately that are involved in these disbursement of the resources for people with mental health. There are some people in there that are deliberately working to incite the individual's mental health. And when they do this, they're blocking their access to the resources. They're taking their time to let them get access to the resources while creating debt and other stressors. And then when you're turning to your support system, and this is happening a lot with veterans, veterans go through this a lot, and a lot of veterans keep their mouths shut because a lot of people honor veterans and the sacrifices that are made in servicing and support this. But the pride is to know that, hey, we're in need, and sometimes people use our triggers against us. Police officers go through this. Black individuals go through this with racism. That's why the N-word is thrown out there in the middle of a fight by someone who's not Black, because they know what they're doing. They're trying to incite. There's trauma behind these things. And when you realize a person's weakness and you're poking and prodding at that weakness, but if you're dealing with mental health, it has dire consequences. The good ones will turn on themselves and commit suicide. And then even good ones will just break and say fuck it and hurt others and don't even want to. And then there is those who just, they lost it. They completely gave up all hope that people give a shit. And that's when you see those really extreme circumstances that end up in the news. And then it makes us fear dealing and addressing someone with emotional health issues. So what happens is, first of all, we have to accept that we as a society need to emotionally mature and see emotions as an appropriate response to a circumstances surrounding an individual, not a lack of self-control that should be checked because you're just ignoring what the problem is, and that's not going to go away. So whatever's causing and creating their reaction will continue. And so you can't check that. And then the problem is now here they are triggered, and then there's no safe place. There's no safe place to let loose, to release, or just to process. Sometimes you might need to break. Breaking might require you dropping down and crying and screaming, just letting it out. And there's no safe place for that. You got neighbors who overhear things, and then that could create situations. Then you have the world that's knocking at your door saying you need to do this, you need to take care of that. And then if you have access to these resources and the individuals that are behind the scenes are inciting you, now there comes a point you just give up, fuck it, and then you turn to self-medicating, which is the drug habits, or turn to being in the streets, because it's just fucking easier to deal with that shit because you get beat up all the time for what you have. It's better to have nothing. And that doesn't stop. That never stops. So, but there are some people who have a great support system, and that's why, you may not know or understand what mental health is, because the first people that you knew in your life gave you a strong foundation of roots and setting that in, and that's a beautiful thing. And what's being weaponized out there for individuals with mental health issues is your judgment based off of the fact that you do not understand. You don't know through experience. COVID allowed a lot of us to face things that we didn't know, and then it challenged our mental health. I seen that. For me, it was a time of peace because the 6 feet distance and the stay in, I didn't have to deal with those inciting issues. But for many others, they struggled with being shut out because they were always running from themselves through entertainment and work and everything else, right? So then now you're forced to face and understand what it's like to feel isolated, what it's like to feel ostracized, what it's like to feel alone. And many people, like, after COVID, is like we seeing some results of people just losing it, but that was always there. It was just we were ignoring it. So when you fall in love with someone, you see that you're dealing with the mental health, give them a safe place. Give them a safe place to know that here and with you, with them, you're safe, that you're not judged, that they understand life is hard and this is the way you need to process it. When they have that safe place, and then combined with therapy and self-help videos and books and a lot of things out there, there's a lot of tools. You both can sit down together and watch these videos together so you can understand a role to play. For veterans, we have a program called the Vet Center, which is also family. There's a family extension where individuals who are struggling with PTSD and they have family, children, or whatever, they get to sit down and process and then help the family deal with coping mechanisms, because that's really what it is. You just, the truth is, I went through the journey of finding self-love, right? We all have to go through that journey, and a bitch loves herself. I think I'm fucking awesome. I don't care if that sounds conceited. Oh, the fuck well, but that's what self-help, that's what self-love looks like, being humble, means helping other people, making videos like this, making myself vulnerable. But I still think I'm fucking awesome. Hey, holla. But I also noticed during this journey of self-love, when I asserted that love and my boundaries, because, I love myself. You're not going to mistreat me in any way without any consequence or accountability of some kind. There are people there who are like, no, humble yourself. And humble means to them, take my abuse, accept it, and be silent. Don't say nothing. And if you do, we're going to make you look crazy. So what happened is now I'm just making these videos and then going up there and speaking my truth. If you haven't seen my stand-up, check it out. The woes of dating. It's pretty funny, but true. Staying in my hashtag truth, always living it. And I challenge my brothers and sisters out there. If you truly believe in something, if you really believe that kindness is something that you should exercise amongst each other and all individuals equally deserve it, and that, but there is people out there, we do have to protect ourselves. But how do we do that? We have to come together. We have to protect those who are most vulnerable. And children are not a commodity. They're a blessing. All I ever wanted was to have a big family. I was denied a healthy family and denied a healthy life. Something that I still work hard on, and I provide for my daughters. And then I see certain times when things just get, it gets hard on everybody, and I get concerned about how that affects their growth, their emotional health, and all those things. But I realize it's a community, but every time I reach out to my community, it's a hit or miss. I have to reach out to my community. I'm by myself. How can I not, right? uh, in this world that expects independence, which is something I truly love and exercise. But the expectation of what independence means is like, I shouldn't ask for your help. I shouldn't reach out when I'm in need. I shouldn't sit here and come to my community and say, I need your protection. I need your help. And if I do so, then it's a question of whether or not I can take care of myself and my children. But the truth is, many of you out there have family members. You don't do it by yourself. Mothers and fathers help you if you have that. If you don't have that, you built a community of people, friendship, a network of friends that you can trust and turn to. So that is definitely a need that needs to be fulfilled. And what we need to do is protect each other under that, give each other that safe space. I want to understand where we need to go to give each other this safe space so that we can be able to connect and not be left so vulnerable to those who have given up on their hope on humanity or themselves. And take responsibility. We created that. I remember growing up being bullied and talking about it, and people always talked about, oh, well, bullying, tough up, you need a tough skin. But bullying doesn't tough you up. It doesn't give you a tough skin. It just makes the bullies win. And then you, if you're a good person and you're not into that stuff, you're just gonna be victim to their bullying until you're no longer victim to their bullying. I mean, come on. And then zero tolerance in schools make it very difficult for you to defend yourself, which I understand the approach. It's a well-meant approach, but it doesn't address bullying, and it doesn't address keeping the children safe from being bullied. So these are the things that create these issues today that we're dealing with. Those bullied children grew up. Those bullies grew up. And however way their behavior was rewarded is how it's going to be manifested as adults. So, if you reward a bully for, being the strongest and the best, well, then, you end up putting a bully into your presidency. Oh, wait, that happened already, right? But anyways, and then if you respect might as strength and not compassion as strength, then you're gonna end up with a world full of people who are just gonna try to assert that strength to survive. And then you're gonna see things. Our children are dying out there. They're killing each other because they can't even handle the bullying and the poor treatment at home, the stresses that's going on at home, and the stresses that's going on in school, the stresses that's going on around us, because our emotional and mental health is not protected. It's just gone. And then we have these high expectations on individuals who want nothing but a chance at a healthy life and a normal life to uphold this emotional structure that you barely can uphold, which is why you cut people off when they overwhelm you. It's so they don't bring that out of you. So but ostracization is a big problem in dating, in community relations, in the workplace. It's why people are afraid to speak up. It's why people are afraid to say anything or defend themselves, because everyone else's fear of what that might do in holding them accountable, and what part they played in allowing these things to happen accountable. If accountability comes, and then they have to maintain the resources they need, and then that might be lost because now this person spoke up. So what we do is we inflict more pain, and we inflict more ostracization, and we inflict more to try to not reward that so-called bad behavior. But it's not a bad behavior, it's just an emotional response to an appropriate situation that's going on around the individual. And I ask you, if you was going through those things, if you had to deal with being violated physically or emotionally or mentally on a regular basis, where someone's making you feel there's no hope, but then when you turn to your community, abusers like to do this. They like to make you feel like there's no hope, and that if you try to speak up, you're the problem. And then the community kind of validates that. So how do you how do we change that? Well, let's start putting some emotional health concerns and behavior and attacks and things that, let's listen to the story and let's get together and ask for them to change the law and make that stuff illegal, to incite. If I can incite a crowd to a riot, and if this video incites a crowd to a riot, which is what they're trying to go after Trump about, because he incited the riot, you go to jail for that stuff. It's actually illegal to incite a riot, because you know that you're endangering the well-being of those around them. So if that's the case, why can't we put inciting someone's mental health and using triggers as a weapon into some form of law where it could be accountable, and have the police arrest on behalf of the people? This might resolve that issue of us versus them with the cops. To understand also where a cop might come from, because the job of a police officer is to handle the worst of humanity. And then the worst part is that we send outsiders to the neighborhoods where it's different, poverty is different, or life is different due to racism. And then this is what they're seeing, the worst of humanity of this community. That's what they're believing what that community is. So because there's no understanding, there's no listening and speaking up enough about what's happening, or articulation without pointing fingers. So I hope that I'm able to do that. That's what I'm hoping to do with these videos. Articulate without pointing fingers, but addressing like how like this affected me. And if it's happening to me, it got to be happening to you, right? This is life. So how do we, figure it out? Let's connect. Let's share. Let's share. Let's be each other's muses. And be that person's muse. Inspire them to want to heal. Inspire them to. My husband loved me enough to want to heal. I did not want to lose my relationship over my issues that I didn't deal with yet. So I went and I dealt with them. And then it brought me to a point where I could step up and be the woman I wanted to be for him. I'm just upset because he passed away before I even had a chance to implement. I put in the healing, worked on it, and then he died. And then it was like, rip, start all over. And that's life, right? Life does that. And so how, now I'm like, okay, how do I heal? But I feel this. Talk to you. Tell you. It's hurting out there. There's so many people hurting out there. Give them compassion. So hopefully this helps, giving a person with emotional health issues a safe place to process. Don't tell them how. Don't tell them what they should do, because they're different. They're different in you. Just let them know that they're safe. Let your unconditional love show that they're safe. And then address it when they're calm. All right? Peace.